This video is brought to you by PrizePicks. You know, I've been thinking about what the Browns' plan is in the long term and what that means for their plans in the short term, right? I've talked about it before. I think the Browns want to win games this year. They want to try their best to win games with what they have on the roster. But I do think that they are very aware that long-term wise, they have solved a lot of holes on this roster, but there's a big hole on this roster that they need to address, right? Which is the quarterback position. There's really no long-term option right now for them as far as they really haven't found anything that would require a long-term commitment at this point at the quarterback position. Maybe one emerges. Maybe Shedeur Sanders plays and he's so good that we have to give him a long-term commitment, or maybe Taylor Green plays well, or Dylan Gabriel or something like that, and that requires some kind of long-term commitment. But right now, the Browns' plans are pretty short-term and pretty cheap at the quarterback position, right? They have Deshaun Watson, who's on the team because they have to let his contract ride out with the way that they've structured his salary to not really hit big in one particular year. The Browns have to keep him on the roster this year, and then they can cut him post June 1st. And get rid of the bulk of that contract. You know, they'll still have some money left to pay over, but they'll be pretty much done with it. Especially, I think they're going to be completely done with it by like 2029 or something like that. But Deshaun, that money is already counted as a loss. So anything you get out of him now, it's kind of free money. Shedeur was a 5th-round pick, so the investment as far as draft capital goes is not high. The investment as far as money goes is pretty disposable. The same can be said with Dylan Gabriel. The same can be said with Taylor Green. See, the Browns have kept this quarterback room cheap, which brings me to a lot of the dialogue about this quarterback competition. See, you search the Browns on any kind of national platform, and you're going to find videos just lasered in, on this quarterback competition, which is interesting to me. The way that people are talking about this quarterback competition, you would think that the Browns are determining who's going to be the guy they commit to for the next couple of years based on who wins this quarterback competition or not. But that's not really the case, is it? Like, the guy who wins this quarterback competition isn't really even guaranteed to start past the bye week. It's very likely that somebody can win this quarterback competition, lose their job by the bye week, and then we're playing the other guy for the rest of the season. I mean, this has happened the last 3 years for the Cleveland Browns. It wouldn't shock me if it happened again, especially this year, where, again, there's no definitive, like, starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns at this point. It's a pretty big question mark with this team, but yet we talk about this quarterback competition as if it's going to determine more than just the order of operations of how a quarterback gets out there. Some people are convinced that this is that, right? Like, this is going to be a quarterback competition that determines the future of the team. I'm not convinced that is the case. And the reason that is when I look at the Browns and how they're building this team and what they've done over the last couple of years, it's clear to me that the quarterbacks in this room, they're not here because they think they could be the future. They're here because they're test pilots. You want to know what I mean by that? I'll explain it, but first I got to thank my sponsor, PrizePicks. Hey, let me talk to you about my sponsor for this year, PrizePicks. It's a fun way to win cash while you're watching your favorite teams. Forget complex betting rules. Their app is designed to be incredibly easy to use. Just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. Speaking of, here are my picks for this upcoming NFL season. They have Myles Garrett at 14 sacks here. I think he will get more than 14 sacks. Joe Burrow at 3,875 passing yards. I think he'll be a 4,000-yard passer. I'm going to go with more. They have Derrick Henry at 1,224 yards. I'm going to go less than that. Check to see if PrizePicks is available in your state. You can follow me on the app at KWEN_C to see all of my lineups. Download the PrizePicks app today. Play $5 and get $50 in lineups when you download the app using the link in the description. This quarterback competition is a test pilot competition. See, if you're a test pilot, it's pretty cool. At first, you get to fly the latest and greatest. You get to get in some planes and learn some things that, not many people are privy to. But ultimately, you are in there to make sure that this $10 million or $10 billion, I don't know how much they cost, but they're very expensive. $10 million jet that's state of the art doesn't explode when you fly it. See, that's this Browns quarterback room. The guy who wins the competition is winning a test pilot competition. Because what the Browns have done over the last couple of years is put the foundation down for a pretty solid roster, right? A quarterback's best friend is a great defense. The reason is because it just gives you more chances to take a lead in a football game, right? If you have a great defense, it just gives you such a margin of error. You look at all the worst quarterbacks to ever win a Super Bowl, and I promise you, a great defense is what surrounds them. More than great receivers, more than great running backs, great defenses are always around mediocre quarterbacks who succeed at a high level. Trent Dilfer won that Super Bowl in Baltimore. You might not be able to name who the starting running back for that Baltimore Ravens team was that won in 2000, but you do know who was on that defense. Not to say that they didn't have a good running back, but we know what really drove the production of that team was that defense, right? Defense is the best friend to a quarterback. The Browns have had that for years, right? The Browns have been able to stay in games. They ain't got no business staying in offensively because their defense is just so damn good since 2023. That's been the case. So they have the defense. The Browns have continued to reload that defense with young talent. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren this year, Carson Schlesinger next year. The Browns might have the next two defensive rookies of the year on their roster right now. They already got one in Carson Schlesinger. It wouldn't shock me if Emmanuel McNeil-Warren was able to play to that level. But anyways, they have that defense. And then this year, they spent a lot of money on building an offensive line. 5 new starters on that offensive line is pretty much guaranteed. Even if they bring back Luke Whippler and have him start at center, guess what? He's a new starter. He was not the starter last year for most of the season. And then they brought in 2 new wide receivers. Now, again, on the surface, if you're Shador, if you're Deshaun, and you're looking at this, you could say to yourself, again, like the test pilot, look at all this stuff they building for me, right? You're going to look around and be like, I get to fly the newest jet. I get to fly the coolest stuff, right? That's how you feel when you're the test pilot. And that's kind of how, if you're Shador, you're Deshaun, you got to look at this opportunity. Like, yeah, I'm going to be the first one to fly this. But in reality, when we look at that, it's like, yeah, it's nice that the Browns made that investment, but there are some realities that we need to face here, right? The Browns have 5 new starters on the offensive line. They also have a head coach, a new head coach, who's a first-time head coach in the NFL. In Todd Monken. Now, super experienced Todd Monken, but still a new head coach. So you got a new offense, and you got 5 new starters on the offensive line. Now, if you watch football for any period of time, you know that there's just going to be a growing period with that, right? More than likely. Sometimes 5 guys get together on the offensive line, and it just clicks like smooth, right? I think it happened with Kevin Stefanski, ironically enough, in 2020, where they put that offensive line together and then it clicked immediately. But a lot of times it takes some time for that offensive line to really get together, right? There's going to be blown assignments. There's going to be miscommunication. There's going to be some lack of coordination on some run plays. You expect it to look a little ugly, especially early in the season with 5 new offensive linemen, right? There's just going to be a work in progress there, no matter how good those 5 guys are. They haven't played together. None of these guys have played together, right? That's another thing, right? Like, there's no continuity whatsoever. Titus has never played with any of these offensive linemen before. Elton has never played with these guys. Zion has never played with these guys. Spencer has never played with these guys. Parker or whoever plays the center has never played with any of these guys before. So not only 5 new offensive linemen, but 5 new offensive linemen who are very unfamiliar with each other. So you got to figure out that mix right there, right? Who plays where? What does that communication look like? What can we run with these guys? What can't we run? This is going to take some time. Same thing with wide receivers, right? Like, it's nice that we have new wide receivers, but, working in 2 new big names into that wide receiver room, that's going to probably take some time. On top of the fact that we're putting in a whole new offense, which usually also takes some time. See, the offense is going to be a work in progress pretty much the whole season. We just hope to see progress there for the offense. I'm not going to sit here and give out the expectation that the Browns should, be one of the best offenses in the NFL. I think they should be looking like they're building towards that during the season, but it's going to be a work in progress here. It's not going to be a finished product. And the purpose that Shedeur or Deshaun is going to serve for this team, and again, look, it's possible that especially Shedeur can play so well that he outplays his original purpose here, right? That he goes from being a test pilot to being the main pilot. That can happen if he plays well enough, especially since he's on a rookie deal. With Deshaun, it's much less likely. He's more disposable because he has a poison pill in his contract. It makes it really hard to retain him. It's possible, but it makes it really hard to retain him without a significant commitment. I just don't see the Browns going for it. You know what I mean? Unless they can get some kind of like completely non-guaranteed deal from him and they can cut him whenever, then they might go for it. But I don't see them going for it unless they can work something like that in there. But all that being said, right, there's a chance that they can outplay their purpose. But their purpose is to be a test pilot. Their purpose is to get into this jet, which looks great. We spend a lot of money on this jet, but we got to do a lot of testing before we know that this jet is safe to deploy, right? And again, we talked about it, the new offensive line, the new wide receiver, the new offense. There's a lot of moving parts here, right? We got to do a lot of testing and a lot of working on this offense before it really gets to a finished product. And Deshaun and Shedeur are the test pilots that we're going to put in these planes to make sure that there's no critical issues and that, all the parts that we got fit and work the way that we expect them to, and that the plane doesn't explode while a quarterback is in it. And the reason that's the case is because it's pretty clear that the Browns are anticipating that they're going to have to take a swing at quarterback in 2027, right? Like, that's kind of what this is all building towards. Whether it be a big trade, a small trade, a trade up, the Browns are anticipating that they're going to have to put a quarterback that they're going to invest real assets in, because they have not invested anything any real money in that quarterback position since they signed Deshaun Watson, right? They're anticipating that they're going to have to do that again in 2027. It could be via trade. It could be via free agency. It could be via draft, right? But they're anticipating that just like last year the focus was offensive line, wide receiver, next year the focus is clearly going to be the quarterback position. And they want to make sure whoever is in that cockpit is safe, because that's the one thing the Browns have not done for a quarterback that they've tried to develop, especially quarterbacks that they have spent premium assets on. I'm not talking about what they did with Cody Kessler or what they're doing with Colt McCoy or what they did Shedeur, any of these guys who were drafted after day one of the draft. Even guys like Brady Quinn and Johnny Manziel and Brandon Whedon, who the Browns took in like the 20s, don't really count, because the Browns took them with the idea of like taking them with a flyer, basically, is kind of how they thought about it. It wasn't really like a real swing to change the organization. It was like, hey, this could be fun, Brandon Whedon's 27. He might be good early. Oh, hey, Brady Quinn, he's from here. That could be fun. That could be like Bernie Kosar. Johnny Manziel, he was fun in college. Maybe that's fun in the NFL too, right? They were all kind of just like flyers that the Browns took. The Browns only have taken 2 real swings in a draft since coming back in 99 at the quarterback position, and that's been Tim Couch and Baker Mayfield, right? I think the Browns are gearing up to take their 3rd swing. It doesn't have to be the number 1 overall pick or even a top 5 overall pick. This could very well be like the Browns have the 12th pick and they use it on Sam Levitt, or they trade up from 12 to get to like the 3rd quarterback. I don't want to get too specific into names because we don't know what that quarterback class is going to look like until the season happens. But you get my point, right? Like, I think the Browns are going to take a big swing here at quarterback next year, whether it be draft, free agency, trade, whatever, how they can swing it. They're probably anticipating taking a big swing there, right? But they want to make sure before they take that swing that they have built a roster to where that quarterback can be successful. You know, that quarterback isn't going to be thrown into a place where they can't succeed. And if you look at this roster and you ask yourself after a year how things are going to be looking, you're going to be like, well, this offensive line is going to have a whole year of chemistry with each other. So they should be ready to hit the ground rolling in 2027. You look at this wide receiver room, like, yeah, they're going to have a year of play under their belt, a year in this offense under their belt. So they should be ready to hit the ground rolling in 2027. The run game should be, I mean, that's the part of the game, the offense that you expect to kind of hit the ground during this season. So you expect them to be even better in 2027. In the defense, again, you keep drafting guys at high places for this defense. So you're reloading it. You feel pretty good about their capability to be good in 2027. And you look at this roster, you're like, hey, if they're right about these draft picks and right about these free agent signings, they should be an excellent landing spot for a quarterback. And that's kind of the goal for them in 2027. So that's how I view it. You know, I view them in this quarterback competition less critically than maybe most do. You know, I don't really think who wins it it's going to make much of a difference because, again, we're just determining the order of the rotation of the test pilots. But that's my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.